Structure this, structure that, structure here and there. Everyone is talking to you about structure, but no one has really taken the time to explain what exactly structure means, right? So in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you what legal structure means to you as a business owner. So every time we talk about structuring your business, it goes beyond just having a logo, having a business name. It goes beyond you being a cute business with an IG page that is optimized. Structure means that you have a legally registered company. You don't exist as a business owner, as a company, unless the law certifies that you are an existing business owner. So the law has to pronounce that you exist, and that's where registration of your company comes into play. So if you're building a business and you're not properly registered, and by properly registered, I don't just mean being registered with the CAC as a business name, I mean as a limited liability company. Do you know that I was shocked the other day when I realized that some people don't actually know that there are different types of registrations to do with the CAC. In fact, when they say they want to register their business, what they say is, I want to do CAC, or I want to do CAC registration. So being a legally structured company means that you have a registered company with the Corporate Affairs Commission or with the relevant regulatory body in your country. Now, this is the first step of compliance, because the law in Nigeria says anybody who wants to do business in Nigeria has to be registered in Nigeria. And beyond just being able to register, right, we're now saying you have to also comply with other regulation. So beyond the registration that you do with the CAC, depending on the nature of your business, you might need to also comply with other regulatory bodies. So for example, if you're into food processing, food packaging, drinks, cosmetics, skincare products, and all of that, you might need, in fact, you will need to register with the NAFDAC in Nigeria, right? As a matter of fact, you don't need to have a trademark registration before you can have your NAFDAC. So we're looking at intellectual property or trademark, because you're going to be trading with a particular name. Trademark makes sure that you own that name. So when we're talking about structure, we're looking at it in terms of compliance, right? And beyond compliance, we're also looking at it in terms of ownership. Yeah, I know that I started with you registering your business, but this is why you need to speak with a lawyer. When you're building a business with other people, you're building a co-founder startup, and you have co-founders, you have people that you're planning to give equity, to give shares to, it's important to do some preliminary structural work even before you register the company with the CAC. I'll explain that. It's a fatal mistake to quickly jump to the CAC to do a company incorporation, right? Register with the CAC when you know that you have co-founders and you have not discussed anything that has to do with management of the company, who will make what decision, how would shares be, allocated, vesting of the shares and all of that. These conversations, you have to have them before you even think of registering the business. So if you register the company first, then you come back to have this conversation, you'll be setting up yourself for disaster. So yes, by all means register the company, but depending on the kind of structure that you're building from day one, if you're building a business where you're bringing in other people to work with you, please, beyond the registration or before the registration, ensure that you have sorted out your internal structuring between you and your co-founders, right? Ensure that both of you, or you and your co-founders, are on the same page. So you want to structure your ownership. So there's the structure of your company with the CAC or with the regulatory body, and then there's the structure of the ownership of the company within yourselves as co-founders. I've mentioned two aspects of structuring your business. The next one is intellectual property protection. Now, a key part of structure is the fact that you have control over your intellectual property, that the intellectual property actually belongs to the company. So every time we say, oh, legally structure your business should be properly legally structured, we are saying your business should be registered, you should have clear ownership structure in place, you should have clear ownership structure of your intellectual property, right? So whoever is creating or doing any work for you shouldn't own the work, it should belong to the company. And unless there is an actual instrument that ensures that the company owns it, then the company doesn't own anything. And another key important aspect of structure that you want to put in place is agreement with your stakeholders. So we're looking at the contracts and the agreements that you need to keep in place. In fact, this aspect of structure is so important, because it is the lack of this agreement and this document in place that leads to disputes with your co-founders, with your employees, with contractors, with freelancers, even with your clients. So you want to be sure that your agreement that you have in place addresses the different stakeholders that you have. You can't say you run a structured company and you do not have an agreement that addresses the key stakeholders of your business. So for example, you're a tech founder, you've built a product and you expect users to come onto your platform. You should not launch without having a terms of use on your platform. You should not launch without having a privacy policy on your platform. If you have different segments of users, you should not launch unless you have considered the different interest groups on your platform and then tailor your agreement or your terms of service to fit into their needs. You should not launch unless you have an actual service level agreement with the contractors or the people who are doing one work or the other for you, right? You should not hire people unless you've had your contract of employment that clearly spells out their roles and responsibilities. You should not onboard co-founders unless you have an actual founders agreement with clear terms and conditions on ownership of shares, on vesting provisions, on decision making, on board governance, on what happens if a co-founder decides to leave. So you see, all of this talk about structure, it happens because you don't pay attention to these things. So this is just like a general overview of what structure is all about. On this YouTube channel, I'm going to be breaking down everything one by one. So we could start with compliance. What are the things that you need to comply with before you can say, oh, I am legally protected? Your tax registration beyond CAC, post-incorporation compliance, annual returns, and all of that. Then your industry-specific regulatory bodies, you have to comply. You have to comply. So when we say, oh, you're a structured business, it means that you have all of these things in place. So you're not just a cute small business on Instagram. You have these things that are running on the background to ensure that you're legally protected. If you want more information on this, please hit the subscribe button. I drop new videos every week that teaches you everything you need to know about the legal aspects of your business.